Hi, this is Alex from Moon Mode again, and today is an exciting day because I get to talk to you about my favorite topic from the past few years, and that is our truck simulator prototype called Time to Dawn. And I actually have, if I can get all of this monstrous setup working that I've got going here. Here we are. This is a video of Time to Dawn, the prototype, working in Unity. And we've been working on this for about 4 or 5 weeks now, I think. And Chris and Rosie have done an incredible job in getting this working in such a short amount of time. And we can see here the game is entirely played at night. Essentially, it's a night driving game for reasons which I'm going to talk to you about shortly. We've got weather, some beautiful looking purple aurora. Why is it purple, you ask? I'm going to tell you all about that in a moment as well. And I'm driving off-road here, which is not cool. We've not actually tuned the truck controls just yet, so it's a little hard to drive, but yeah, okay, I think that's enough of that. Right. So, Time to Dawn. It's an open-world sci-fi truck simulator game, and it's set on an alternate Earth called Kyo. And here is a screen grab also from the prototype. Kyo was ravaged by an ecological collapse, and it was deemed agriculturally incapable of sustaining its population around 400 years ago. And after that point, gradually the inhabitants of Kyo all left the planet to go to a new world and start up a new life on a different planet. You play as a driver who has made the long one-way journey from the new world back to Kyo with the intent of learning about and understanding the people who chose to remain, who would become to known as the Remainers. And so they're your kinsfolk. They chose not to leave because of various religious and economic and scientific reasons. And your intent in taking this long one-way journey back to Kyo is to make your way among them and learn about the people of your motherland. Kyo is considerably smaller than Earth. And I have actually a marvelous looking concept picture that Rosie's done for me here. It's smaller than Earth, and so in order to hold its atmosphere, it has an extremely strong magnetic field, and this affects many aspects of life. Because of the strong magnetism, there's no wireless telecommunication, and so all information transfer is made by physical contact with data lines. And it also means that there's extremely strong and dangerous electric storms and lightning, and that means that almost all logistics are land-based because there's no air travel. That's not possible. After the ecological collapse, daytime is now practically unsurvivable. You essentially fry to death. And so Remainers on Kyo now go about their lives primarily at nighttime, and they use the day for sleep and rest. Hence, Time to Dawn. I get it. Right. Here's a map of Kyo, and it's been about 400 years, as I said, since the majority of the population left. And the Remainers would then, in that time, they would coalesce into the 7 linguistic groups, which you see listed on the left-hand side of the screen there. We've got Kyo, the Kayala, the Galaguan, the Dunam, the Oyoeo, Avisa, and the Thwaya. These are actually linguistic groups. So they're not necessarily cultural groups, but they're groups of people who speak specific languages. And as you can see on the map, it's less of a case of this culture, this group of people inhabits this area and this inhabits this area, because there's, I think, approximately 300,000 to 400,000 people left on the planet. They have all traveled around and mixed around together, and you can see on the map here that the larger settlements actually contain a mixture of different languages that are spoken there, which will become relevant as you play more of the game. So, as I mentioned, with the different mixture of speakers in each place that you travel to, it affects your cultural favor with each one of them. Some of them are willing to speak the old language that you speak, and some of them are not. And basically, by performing jobs for people around the planet, you gradually gain cultural favor with the different groups, and they'll start speaking to you in the old language, and then you can take advantage of the things that they offer, such as work, wares, vehicles, components, and things like that. Okay, as for jobs, there's always work to be done. Life is hard on Kyo post-Exodus, and so there's a strong spirit of work and collaboration for survival. The easiest way to make money and favor with the locals is freighting goods. And aside from that, though, there will also be other jobs available, such as the salvage of items from ruins. Wood is one thing on this planet that's extremely rare, and wood fetches a high price if you can find it. Remote repair when things break down out in the middle of nowhere, going out to fix them. Search and rescue, of course. And eventually security. When I say eventually, I mean that when we're making this game, in the final iterations of this in its release phases, hopefully we'll be able to incorporate security and some combat as well. So that's going to be protecting convoys and things like that. And then, as I mentioned, with the money and rapport that you earn for people, you'll be able to gradually upgrade your truck with better parts or acquire new vehicles that are more purpose-built for the type of job that you prefer. Okay, here's a truck. There's actually 5 different manufacturers, but what's interesting is that the population of Kyo, they don't have as much of a kind of capitalist spirit as we might, so they don't have companies that make vehicles. This model is entirely just for our prototype, so we've made it to kind of look cool and hopefully get people into the game, but ultimately the cultural groups, they form workshops that create these trucks, so it's less about the branding, like as you see here, which is obviously done to make this look really cool, and more about the capabilities and the functionality of the trucks. Okay, so now we're going to look a little bit at driving. So along the roads, you'll find 2 features. Firstly, data gates, which you can see in the distance there. Actually, I think I have there we go. This is a data gate. And because there's no wireless telecommunication, in order to receive updated weather information and about the position of electrical storms, you have to pass through these data gates. If I go back here, you'll see that the trucks actually have an antenna on top, and the antenna makes contact. You can just barely see it there in this through the rain, but it makes contact with a wire that stretches over the top of the data gate. And when you pass through that, your truck receives the latest weather information for the place that you're at. But that's not real-time information. So as you drive away from the data gate, your map doesn't update the weather because you don't have any updated weather information. So the only way to get an idea of what weather is coming in front of you is to pass through the gate and then basically make predictions about the movement of weather and the movement of the clouds to kind of guess, okay, well, this storm front appears to be moving this way based on the last 2 or 3 data gates that I've passed through, so I'm going to need to go around it, and it's probably likely to come to my location. So with this, driving becomes somewhat tricky. This is actually an enlarged version of the map, the final map as it will be, and you can see here that you've passed through Datagate E98.3G, and that's given you kind of a radius of weather information. And here you see that the red areas are representing radiation, and the yellow areas are representing an electrical storm that obviously you want to avoid because there's a lot of lightning. Did I mention that the aurora is purple? It is purple because magnetism. That's how this fictional science fiction stuff works, right? Okay, so you pass through these data gates, you get information. There's pipelines along one side of the road, and they connect the data gates to the settlements, and they also deliver vital desalinated water to the inland. And that blocks one side of the road because underground pipes aren't possible here due to the very dense bedrock. Again, because it's a smaller planet, it has a stronger magnetic field, and it has much more dense mantle and bedrock in order to hold its atmosphere. So you accept jobs and you plan your route, and the critical objective will be to ensure that you've made it to the settlement that you're going to before dawn, or to any settlement really. When the sun comes out, it's lethal and it's pretty toasty and you die, hence time to dawn. I think I've said that already. Anyway, the name of the game, pun intended, is to plan your route accordingly to ensure that you cover the most distance before dawn comes, and then hoping that you don't get caught out in the sudden electrical storms or stuff that move around the environment. So that's the basics of the gameplay. Whoops, there we go. In the next video, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the design philosophy and also the background and how this project came about in 2 videos coming. So I hope you'll join me for that. And as always, as I said last time, if you're interested and if this seems like something you might enjoy, then please do all the YouTube stuff. You know what that is. All right, thanks very much. See you in the next video.